Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something special. The legend of the Antonov An-225 Mriya.
The dream.
Exactly, dream in Ukrainian. Just a true titan. Its sheer scale, its story, it's captivated people all over the world.
It really has.
So what really set this aircraft apart, and maybe more importantly, why does its story, its legacy resonate so deeply,
Sure.
even after its tragic end?
Well, what's truly remarkable about the Mriya is that it was, yes, the largest plane ever built, but it was much more than just size. It was a real symbol, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Of just audacious engineering ambition, born from a very specific time, historically speaking.
Right, the Cold War era.
Precisely. And it ended up playing this, well, surprising and ultimately quite heartbreaking role in global events later on.
Yeah.
It's this interesting paradox. Immense size, but also in some ways surprising capability. We should probably unpack it.
Okay, let's do it. So our mission for this deep dive, explore where the An-225 came from, its original, very specific purpose, then really get into its scale, just unparalleled, and the unique design bits that made it one of a kind.
Absolutely key features.
We also want to look at the challenge. I mean, what was it like flying and operating such a giant?
Aching.
And then recount its more recent contributions, critical ones, and, yeah, sadly, its destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we'll talk about its lasting legacy. What did it really represent for aviation? So, yeah, prepare for some genuine insights as we explore this absolute sky giant.
Okay, so its story really kicks off in the 1980s. The Antonov Design Bureau. They didn't just create it to be big, they created it to be the biggest, like by a significant margin.
Right.
And its primary job, its whole reason for being initially, was to transport the Soviet space shuttle, the Buran.
Piggyback style, right. On top.
Exactly, externally mounted. And this wasn't just about, needing a big mover. It was about demonstrating capability, national prestige, very much a product of that Cold War technical race.
A statement piece, almost.
Totally. It pushed boundaries everywhere, length, wingspan, but especially maximum takeoff weight. Get this, 640 tons.
640 tons. That's hard to even wrap your head around.
It is. To give you some context, that's significantly more than, say, a fully loaded Boeing 747, which is already a huge aircraft.
Wow. Okay, so beyond just being massive, what were the specific engineering choices that made it work at that scale? What set the design apart?
Well, several things really stand out. First, the power. 6 massive Progress D-18T turbofan engines.
6 engines?
Yep. These were known for immense thrust. Pretty efficient for their time, too. Absolutely crucial to get something that heavy off the ground.
I can imagine.
Then there's the landing gear. An incredible 32 wheels.
32.
Yeah, and that wasn't just for holding the weight up. It was designed very cleverly to distribute that immense load across runways. It allowed it to operate, perhaps surprisingly, from places other giants couldn't even consider.
Ah, that makes sense. Spreading the load.
Exactly. And its design, fundamentally, allowed it to carry truly outsized cargo, either inside its enormous cargo hold or, critically for the Buran, externally on its back.
And that wingspan you mentioned?
Over 88 meters. That's actually longer than an American football field.
Yeah.
Just massive.
Given all that capability, it's kind of striking that only one An-225 was ever actually finished, right? What stopped them building more?
That's right. Only the one functional unit completed back in 1988. They did start a second airframe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was never completed. And the reason, well, it's a direct consequence of the Soviet Union's collapse.
Okay. The funding just dried up.
The funding and the original purpose.
Yeah.
The Buran shuttle program itself basically faded away.
Yeah.
So the primary reason for the Mriya's existence sort of vanished.
But the completed one found a new life.
It really did. A remarkable second act. It transitioned into becoming this unique asset for transporting incredibly heavy and oversized cargo commercially all around the world.
Like what kind of stuff?
Oh, things like massive power generators, industrial turbines, wind turbine blades, even other disassembled aircraft sometimes. It became indispensable for certain kinds of logistics.
That's quite a pivot from space race icon to heavy lift workhorse. It's almost an adaptation story.
It really is.
So what was it actually like to fly something on that scale? I mean, I imagine it's worlds away from piloting a standard commercial jet.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thinking about the human side of it, pilots often described flying the Mriya as, well, someone apparently said it was like steering a cathedral through the sky.
A cathedral, chuckles lightly.
Majestic, but also immensely complex. The cockpit was this interesting blend, some high-tech elements for its time, but in many ways still quite old school.
How so?
Well, for instance, no fly-by-wire system like you find in modern Airbuses or many Boeings.
Right, so direct hydraulic controls.
Exactly. Pilots controlled the flight surfaces directly via hydraulics, not through computers interpreting their inputs. It gave them a very raw, direct feel for the aircraft.
Must have been demanding.
Definitely. What's fascinating, though, is despite its sheer size, reports often said it handled surprisingly well once it was airborne. But takeoff and landing, that required immense runway lengths, obviously, and just intense focus from the crew.
No room for error, I'd guess.
Virtually none. Operating something of that magnitude, the margins are just different.
That really highlights the complexity. So it wasn't just a pilot and co-pilot clicking buttons, was it? What about the rest of the team needed for these flights?
Oh, not at all. The An-225 typically flew with a crew of maybe 6 to 8 people.
6 to 8, okay.
You had the 2 pilots, obviously, but also a flight engineer, sometimes a navigator, and crucially, load masters.
Ah, the load masters. They must have had a critical job.
Absolutely vital. The logistics of just loading the cargo were an entire operation. You needed specialists to meticulously plan and handle the cargo distribution, the balance, because even a small miscalculation in weight or placement could seriously affect the aircraft's handling and safety.
Makes sense. The center of gravity must have been incredibly sensitive.
Precisely.
The Mriya certainly made headlines more recently, didn't it? For its humanitarian work before the tragic end. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Indeed. It gained quite a bit of positive international attention during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right, I remember seeing videos.
Yeah, it was deployed to deliver huge amounts of vital medical supplies, PPE, masks, ventilators across continents.
Yeah.
Really showcased its unique capability for massive, urgent aid delivery. People would watch it land in places like Warsaw or Montreal, just stunned by the size, but also by the critical role it was playing then.
A symbol of hope, almost, during a difficult time.
It really became that for a moment. And then, tragically, during the very early stages of the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022, it was destroyed. It was grounded at Hostomel airport near Kyiv during the fighting there.
That news hit a lot of people hard, didn't it? Especially in the aviation community. Just widespread sadness.
It really did, a genuine sense of loss.
Has there been any concrete talk or effort about rebuilding it? Is that even feasible?
Yes, there's definitely a strong emotional attachment, like you said, and a real desire to see it fly again. Antonov, the company, has expressed a clear intention to rebuild it.
Using that second airframe, maybe?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Utilizing the second airframe that was never completed is part of the plan. However, it's a massive, massive undertaking. Incredibly expensive, too. Estimates are flirting around $500 million, maybe more.
Wow. That's serious money.
It is. And while there's been global interest, people wanting to contribute, especially from the aviation and cargo sectors, it's undoubtedly a very long and challenging road ahead to actually make it happen.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. So zooming out a bit, what does all this signify for aviation more broadly? What's the enduring message or symbol the An-225 left behind?
Fundamentally, I think the An-225 was a symbol of just audacious engineering. It really proved that when humans decide to push the boundaries, even if those boundaries are set by specific circumstances like the Cold War, we have the capability to build machines that truly defy imagination. Its purpose wasn't about getting somewhere fast or carrying passengers in comfort. It was purely about capability, pushing the absolute limits of what was thought possible in terms of size, weight, and sheer scale.
It showed these limits weren't quite where we thought they were.
Exactly. It unequivocally demonstrated that.
That really is a profound legacy for just one aircraft. From its birth as this Cold War marvel, through its second life in global aid, and then its tragic destruction. This deep dive, it really feels like it's revealed not just technical details, but a whole story. Human ingenuity, ambition, and that connection people can form with machines that do the impossible.
Absolutely. And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, the An-225 was genuinely the first to prove that an aircraft that large was even feasible. But it's also undeniably a product of a very specific time and purpose.
Right.
Today, the aviation world often prioritizes efficiency, fuel burn, things like that, sometimes over sheer scale. So this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to consider. Will there ever be another driving force? Something significant enough, maybe related to space cargo, perhaps orbital transport, or entirely new industries we haven't even thought of yet, that could inspire someone to create an aircraft even larger than the An-225? Or will the dream Mriya forever remain the undisputed king of the skies in terms of sheer capability?
That is a truly thought-provoking question for all of us to ponder. A fantastic place to leave it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the story of a true sky giant. As always, keep that curiosity alive and continue exploring the fascinating stories of human innovation and the limits we keep pushing.